All right, Mr. Bass, our good friends surfnvs.com are with us today.
Heck yeah, Naked Vikings fins, Jamin and Leif. They're going to be at the Boardroom show too. So that's kind of cool. But I've got my pretty cool looking Shane Horan twin fins. I don't know if you can, there you go. That's probably better.
Very cool looking. Have you ridden them yet?
I haven't. You know what? I have not surfed since I got back from Indo. I have not ridden a surfboard. I've been in foil mode.
How could you? It's going to be a letdown. No matter what, the waves that you surf in San Diego are going to be a letdown compared to your Indo trip.
I mean, and the foiling's been insane, but Naked Vikings fins, look, I mean, these fins are exciting. I mean, just because of their different look, like I'm pretty psyched on them. They're really long, they're tall, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Straight up and down. They've got an America's Cup sailing vibe to them.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who Shane drew inspiration from. And the thing is Shane's been riding them for decades, so that's enough of a reason to give them a shot, but they weren't always broadly available. I think you can go to Shane's website in recent years and maybe get them from there. But the fact that Naked Viking has made them available broadly is kind of the first big splash into the market, even though they've been around for a long time. So go to surfnvs.com if you want to grab the Shane Horan fins. And then speaking of foiling, our buddies at Real Water Sports are actually giving away an Armstrong foil.
What?
Yeah, giveaway
Damn
package.
them. I want to win that.
You can get in on it. Go to Real Water Sports. It's right on the front page. Click Armstrong Foil Giveaway. All you got to do is enter your email address, and then they're going to pick a winner on September 9th. So you have about 2.5 weeks left, I'd say, maybe 3 weeks. And in addition to that entry into the contest, you actually get a bonus code too for $10 off your next order. So there's no reason not to.
Well, Armstrong foils are going to be at the Boardroom show, and yeah, look, I'm on their website, Real Water Sports. Go there now, enter to win. You'll receive a code. And
The
yeah,
winner, the
I'm
winner
about to
will
hit all
actually
of
get
this.
to choose from any Armstrong complete board and foil package in stock at Real Water Sports. So that's a retail value of up to $6,000. They're not just giving you last year's model that they're trying to move. They are going to let you pick your own package. So that's pretty epic for just for your email address.
Do you think if they pick my name, they're going to be like, we can't let Scott win. This is going to look bad.
You know what? Put in somebody else's name. Give them a
I'm gonna
gnome
no,
de
I'm gonna
gnome
put
de
in my
plume.
name. I'm gonna put in my name, but I would hope if my name came up just randomly out of a random draw, they would respect the randomness and the wonderful good luck that I've had. And yeah, I
They
actually
should.
ride Armstrong foils, so I'd love to get a new one. That'd be cool.
So they should respect the randomness.
Yes.
Respect the randomness at Real Water Sports. And then, of course, surfboards, tons of anything you need for any water sport essentially is available at Real Water Sports, and they'll ship it to you anywhere in the world. So go to realwatersports.com.
As we see some movement at the takeoff zone, it's Kelly Slater grabbing rail.
Yeah, guy. Yeah, guy, David. Heck to the yes. This is Spit. We are talking all things surf. Scott Bass, David Lee Scales with you on this Wednesday, August 21st. And good morning to you, dear citizen Scales.
Good morning to you, dear citizen Bass. Um,
That's very Jeffersonian, I get that from my Thomas Jefferson podcast where the guy, I think I've told you he goes into character and he speaks as Thomas Jefferson and he always goes, "Dear citizen."
are you still listening to that?
Sure, man.
I haven't listened to it in years. I did. You first introduced it to me, I would say 8 years ago. And I did listen to it and I liked it. But as with all podcasts, binge
Yeah.
it and then move on, come
Yeah.
back to it sometimes years later.
What's your go-to podcast right now? Like, what are you listening to that's sort of off the radar, maybe?
So nothing off the radar, but I've been um, listening to true crime.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Like Dateline takes their show, their television show, and they don't edit it differently at all. They just take the audio file from their television show and put it on a podcast feed. So
Hmm.
like I listen to Dateline, they publish that like twice a week. I'll listen to 2020. Um, And I used to watch those shows, but now I don't have time to watch those shows. So the fact that I could just listen to them in the car mindlessly, I almost prefer listening than I do watching because they're not that entertaining to fully engage you when you're watching visually. But just, I don't know what the obsession is with murder, but
Yeah.
for some reason I am fascinated by murder.
Wow. Okay. I just started reading a book. Let me see if I can pull it up to get the title. You know, when you get books on your tablet or your phone, you don't even know the title of the book because
Yeah.
it just doesn't show up like when
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
grabbing it's called American Demon.
Don't
And
know it.
it's the story of Elliot Ness in Cleveland. After he went after Al Capone and did all that, he worked in Cleveland. And American Demon is about a serial killer in Cleveland and Elliot Ness and his, trying to nail the crime.
Does he catch him?
I don't know. I just started it. I sense that he must have, but maybe he didn't because you feel like this would be a bigger story about Elliot Ness and his character and his legacy. You would be like Al Capone and the serial killer in Cleveland, but you never really hear about the serial killer in Cleveland
Right.
that Elliot Ness went after.
Yeah, serial killers are fascinating too. That is a crazy genre. But in terms of true crime, they just released a new Lakey Peterson documentary on Netflix as well about Scott Peterson.
Lacey, not Lake.
Sorry.
I was like, whoa.
I never thought about that. Their names are so similar.
Yeah.
So we just watched that the other night too, and it's fascinating. I mean, that guy totally killed his wife, man.
I think that happened in San Diego, right? That was a big San Diego.
No, Modesto.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But you're right. His sister lived in San Diego, so
Yeah, I think
was,
his parents maybe lived here or something.
Yeah. So when they eventually decided to arrest him, he was in San Diego. He had like $15,000 cash. He had bleached
Changed
his
the
hair
color of
blonde.
his hair color.
He
was
like,
so guilty. He's like headed to Mexico.
Yeah, he says he wasn't, but and he had spent a lot of time at his sister's house in San Diego in the months prior, like since she was missing until he was arrested. He had been in San Diego and back to Modesto. So he's like, no, I go to San Diego all the time. But this time his hair was changed and he knew the pressure was on. Anyways, in addition to true crime, you want to know why I am surfed out today?
You went to Palm Springs? Hell yeah. How
Yeah.
was it? Tell us about the Palm Springs Surf Club. Is that what it's called? Palm Springs Surf Club?
Exactly. Yeah. Monday. So we're recording this on Wednesday morning. I was there Monday evening for 4 hours. Dude, I have not had that much fun in a long time, including in the ocean.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't sleep on Monday night. So that's the other thing is we surfed until 8 o'clock at night. So that's pretty late to be, working out essentially. So maybe it's just that kind of adrenaline that was keeping me awake at night. But it was honestly as if I had 3 shots of espresso before I went to sleep. I was so exhausted physically that I figured I was going to get the best night of sleep in my life. And I didn't sleep at all. Like I was tossing and turning, and I was specifically thinking about waves that I had ridden and that what I wanted to do on the next wave and what I wasn't quite able to do. And if I would have switched my fins or something, like just constantly in your head calculating all of those little things. And I just have not been that engaged with a surf experience in a very long time where you're like actually, analyzing the minutia of every little detail. And that's what's so fun about these wave pools is the learning curve, like the ability to go out there, get a wave, do something slightly wrong, and then think, okay, I'm going to adjust that. So you make that adjustment, and then you realize, oh no, I could have gone harder off the bottom. So then you go harder off the bottom next time, and then you're like, just constant refinement on every wave. It was incredible. I'm still reeling from it. Even last night, I actually didn't sleep that great for the same reason.
Well, that's super cool. I'm stoked you got to do that, and everyone needs to feel that stoke that you felt. And was it hot? It must have been hot. Was that one of the reasons you didn't sleep well? Did you have air conditioning?
I had AC, but yeah, the pool is hot. So that's for anybody. People are probably wanting an update on the business itself. They were supposed to, of course, open. I think they originally advertised opening in January of this year, and they even sold space in the pool. And then they had to refund everybody's money. They've been apprehensive to do that again, and so they really want to get the thing dialed. And this is the wave lock technology. This is Tom Lochtefeld's technology. And
is it compression?
No, well, I don't know actually how it all works in behind the walls, but it's basically the pool, the back of the pool, the walls where the power comes from is shaped almost like a V or a U. And there's these what look like garages, and there's probably 18 of them. And within each individual garage, they have a pulse that comes out of energy. And so they can, um, direct those pulses in any number of combination to make any variety of waves.
Yeah.
And so mainly what we were surfing was the A-frame peak. It was kind of like lowers. There's a right and a left, and 3 feet, just super rippable, super playful, very consistent. There's 5 waves per set. You get a
Wow.
set every 2 minutes. We had 10 guys in the pool. We
Oh,
had the
yeah.
place to ourselves. So 10 guys in the pool with 5 waves splitting peaks. Everybody gets a wave in every set. And then you just have 2 minutes to make your way back out, wait in line, and get another one.
Yeah, that's
So
exhausting. Yeah.
totally exhausting. But the difference is you're not paddling really.
Yeah.
Like for the first 20 minutes, I would, let's say, get the first or second wave of the set and then try to paddle out and duck dive through the set. And I realized, what am I wasting energy duck diving for? Let's just wait on the inside. I have 2 minutes to make it back out. No big deal, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I did. But anyways, the Wavelock technology, this is the first full scale version of it. So Tom Lochtefeld modeled it all and then of course sells the pool, but this is the first time they're actually testing it and using it at full scale. And they have run into issues, as you would expect to. The water is used as the cooling mechanism for all of the mechanics. The problem is the water is so hot in the desert, and so it's not effectively cooling down all of that stuff. So currently they're running it, again, not open to the public, but just for private groups, investors, stuff like that. But currently they're doing it like 4 hours in the morning and 4 hours in the evening. So taking the midday off. And I don't know if they'll be able to, maybe like this month is kind of an R&D. The reason we were there was part of R&D. So maybe they'll sort out throughout this month how to be able to run it full all day, every day in the middle of summer. If not, maybe they'll run partial days in the middle of summer and then all day during the rest of the months. But once they get the mechanic, I mean, the mechanics were working for us, for hours on end. So that's not a problem. It's more of a business kind of equation that they're going to have to solve if they can't run all day. But for the consumer side, if you're there, you're going to have the time of your life. Like it was. And then the cabanas are amazing. There's cabanas on both sides of the pool that line the pool. Then there's waiting pools on the side that they dumped buckets of ice in for us, like actually blocks of ice in there to keep that extra cool. They had the restaurant was fully open, so they had servers and drinks running back and forth. The food's amazing, big screens,
Cool.
music. The nighttime surfing was even better than the daytime. Like it's so well lit. It was incredible. So I just had the absolute time of my life.
That sounds really fun. And surfing in the evening is a blast, right? I mean, we don't do that normally. I mean, very rarely. So that's kind of different. And so super cool. It's obviously well lit. I mean, the lighting in the evening is really exciting. It's kind of got a different vibe to it. And it's funny that you say that about the water temperature. I was reading on Stab, you may have saw this too, but or seen this, excuse me. Um, Something about the Abu Dhabi wave pool, the Kelly Slater wave pool in Abu Dhabi, that the water's too warm. Did you see
Same
that?
thing. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah. But I
Same
don't even
problem.
know I mean, maybe it is the same problem. I read it as it's just too hot to surf in, like it's
Oh,
120-degree water temperature. Like,
oh wow.
but I don't know. I'm
That's
just
a
reading
problem.
into that. Maybe the water's too hot to actually run and cool off the machinery. I don't know.
Yeah, the guys at the pool said 2 weeks ago the water was uncomfortably warm to surf in.
Yeah.
They're like it
Yeah.
wasn't scalding, but it's not refreshing, let's say.
Right.
Whereas when we were there on Monday, it was more refreshing. I just sent you a clip of one of the nighttime waves if you have your
Oh,
phone
cool.
handy,
Yeah. Let me take a look.
just so you can see kind of the way the pool's illuminated. Because the problem, it's not quite a problem, but during the daytime when it's fully bright outside, the water's so clear, it's almost harder to surf, because you can't see any contours in the face of the wave or any shadows or anything like that. The pool's,
Yeah.
you know, bright on the, or let's say whitish on the bottom, and then
Yeah.
the water's crystal clear. So at nighttime, it was actually almost easier to surf the wave. We had a lot more waves under our belt at that point and repetitions that it was also easier for that reason. But it just looks cool at night too.
Yeah,
So
it always looks really cool. It looks like something out of a movie. Like it looks like something out of some sort of like, um, you know, I don't know. I want to say it just looks like a spy movie or something. It looks like something you'd see in a James Bond movie or something where like the villain like jumps in the water, catches a wave, rides the wave, gets tubed, jumps out of the pool, runs, does some like whatever that
yeah.
parkour thing is.
Um, it is. It's the billionaire's backyard. That's what that is.
Yeah.
So
That's
I rode, just for the record, I rode the Blackbird Hawkeye from Tim Crozier.
Oh, cool. What a perfect board probably for that.
Totally.
Would
Yeah,
have been
twin.
cool if we put these fins in the Hawkeye, but
I know.
Tim's got his own NVS fins that are perfect for the Hawkeye. But
I know. So that was a real dilemma for me is I haven't ridden the Shane Horan twins yet. And this would have been a perfect opportunity, but I did not want to try something new. And I've
yeah,
ridden that Hawkeye enough to fully feel like I've got it dialed. And then I rode the NVS Blackbird fins in there, the fins that were designed for that board specifically, and they worked perfectly fine. The one limitation is it's got a wider base on it, that fin, and you can't make that thing go vert. So I'd be like, once I got my feet settled and like figured out how to surf in the pool, then I found myself like wanting to kind of turn it up a notch. And I'm bottom turning on the right, looking up at the lip, and I just couldn't quite get it vert. And so so then I just go into kind of an open face turn instead. But then that's where I'm like, should I go grab those Shane Horan fins? But if I do, and it takes me 10 waves to get them figured out, that means I'm going to waste 10 waves in the pool. You know what I mean? So I
yeah,
opted not to play that
yeah.
game and just stick with what I knew and had fun.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of got to look at it like, am I wasting waves by trying out a new fin?
Yeah.
Maybe you're not. I don't know. It's funny. Last night, I was talking to a guy, my friend Griffin. He's like, I'm going to the wave pool in Palm Springs. I think he was going to Palm. Maybe he was going to Waco. I don't know. He's like, what board should I bring? And I was like, don't bring any board. They've got boards there, you know? But we kind of got into it. He's like, I'm bringing my own board. And I get it. Bringing your own boards are fun. I totally get it.
So
I'm at a different place in my life where if I go to a wave pool, I'm just grabbing whatever they have. Because what are you really,
even if it's a drive, like you're not flying on a plane with a board, but even if you're just driving to Palm Springs, you wouldn't bring a board?
I mean, I guess if you're driving, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably would if I was driving. Yeah.
Well, to your point, one thing that they've done at Palm Springs since last time I was there was they built the entire retail store and the entrance, all of that kind of stuff that goes with the experience. And sure enough, they have tons of boards. They have tons of mayhems. They had I forget what else. Definitely a bunch of mayhems though there that you could go grab. A bunch of soft tops, even like a little bit of everything for everybody.
yeah.
Plus clothing, all the gear. Like it's a full blown surf shop out in the middle of the desert. So
Yeah.
it was cool to
That's
see
cool.
all that coming together.
I was listening to Barton Lynch and Kelly Slater on Barton's podcast. I think it's called Stoked Bloke.
Mhm.
Did you listen to that?
I listened to the first half of it.
So they got into the Olympics in Los Angeles and the possibility of a wave pool. And Kelly was definitely pro wave pool. And Kelly has, of course, a lot of interesting ideas. And, his idea is competitors need to go right and left. They each need to show off their front side and their backhand. And they need to do compulsory moves. Like you need to go, look, let's see, whatever, a 360. I don't even know the names of airs anymore, but let's see like you got to do 4 different airs. You got to pull it off. And you got to then also get tubed, on this wave. And, he didn't necessarily, anyway, that was kind of my takeaway was that you could say, and by the way, Barton too was like pro wave pool. His whole thing was look, we've done it in crappy Japan. We did it in all-time Chopu. Let's now in Los Angeles move towards technology. Let's move towards the next thing. And you got the sense that Kelly wasn't even saying, hey, let's do it at my wave. He was saying, we've got the time to now build something that's the ideal Olympic pool that provides an insane barrel section, then you change it, flip the switch on it, change the parameters, and now we've got air sections and we've got all of that. And yeah, and of course he's the first to say, yeah, it's not real surfing. I get it. It's not man versus nature. It's not what you and I, the hardcore fan base, know as real surfing. But for everyone else, it allows the best in the world to do these things and to check these boxes: tube ride, left, right, air section, big hacking, gaffing, club sandwich, whatever it is.
Yep.
Discuss.
I mean, I understand the argument. I'm a little bit, the question in my mind is how much of, whether he knows it or not, how much of Kelly's opinion is influenced by his own financial interests, you know? Like if he didn't have a vested interest in the wave pool space, would he be making that argument? Because it really, I can understand, if I remove myself from everything, I can understand the argument. There makes a lot of sense, but it completely flies in the face of
what surfing is.
Everything that is surfing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like if you actually are a core surfer first, it is completely the opposite. And it's hard to even rationalize that argument. But if you're just looking at it from the outside, it seems very practical just to say that both things can exist simultaneously. I just feel like as a core surfer first, the thing that they're talking about sullies the original thing, you know?
Yeah. And look, I mean, Kelly will tell you, you know, Kelly's the first one to say, look, this isn't surfing as you and I know it. It was more of a pragmatic, from a broadcast standpoint, from the little old lady in Ohio understanding what surfing is. It's just, yeah, it's more of a package for TV.
Yeah. And speaking of flying in the face of the original conceit of surfing, we don't want the little old lady in Ohio to appreciate surfing. You know, like as a core surfer, you don't want more people to like the thing because then the thing becomes more crowded. I would way rather go to Huntington Beach right now and surf with nobody around, no cameras, nobody appreciating what I'm doing, you know, just fully have it to myself. That's the original thing.
Yeah. I mean, but so, you know, and he's taking it like, look, we've got the best surfers in the world, or at least, you know, the best international surfing competitors. And we've got to create this package for them to compete. Like he's basically saying, look, I get it. It's not Huntington Beach. It's not lowers. Like this is not quote unquote surfing as we know it. This is competitive Olympic surfing. And this is the way it's going to look. And not everyone's going to ever like it, but it's probably, it could be argued. And again, this is, I don't want to put words in Kelly's mouth, but it could be argued this is the best way to do that. Like we have these compulsory airs, we have a tube section, we have rights and lefts. And is Scott going to like it? Is David going to like it? I don't know. I'm probably going to watch it, but you know, you and I guaranteed in 4 years we're going to be going, that was lame.
Yeah.
Because we're
so
haters.
but
maybe not. I mean, you know, like the thing is we watch the javelin, we watch the friggin', you know, we watch the crazy track and field stuff that we would never watch. You know, we watch the break dancing, the breaking. Like we'll probably watch the surfing and go, oh, yeah. But, you know, it's not 6 to 8 foot Port Escondido.
Yeah. The compulsory element is the element that I take the most umbrage with. The idea of sitting in the lineup at anywhere in the world and not knowing what it's going to present to you and being able to unlock whatever is presented to you better than your opponent is the essence for me.
What if they do that? Like WaveLock does that. Like these wave technologies can do that. Like you could be sitting in the pool and going, I don't know if David's going to get that peak, that right and left, or I don't know if he's going to get a wedge right that comes at him and bowls up. And like, I think at a push of a button, I mean, that was one of Kelly's things, was like, the technology's not there yet. Like, let's get the greatest minds in the world and build the technology so that we can push a button and provide a situation where we don't know what's coming at us.
There's a version of that, I suppose, far enough down the line that could be almost as good as what the ocean already does automatically. You know what I mean? Like the ocean already provides all of that. And so if you are then trying to build a wave pool that replicates the ocean, that's counterintuitive. What they're really trying to do is build predictability and uniformity in the wave pool. And that's, to them, is the value add for the wave pool. But I'm saying that's the exact element that you're missing that is essential to surfing. So we're having kind of a fundamental disagreement,
Yeah,
not
I
you and
think
me, but me and them.
yeah, you definitely need to divorce yourself from this is not like this isn't going to be the ocean. We're simply not going to do that. But can we provide, can we create, is the technology available for us to create those moments of unknown, like the unknowing, like what's the wave, what's this ocean going to throw at me? What's this wave pool going to throw at me? I don't know.
Well,
Now,
then
it could be argued, look, there's only 5 options and we've surfed all 5 options. And at some point, we've got all 5 options dialed in. And the really great competitor, the Gabe Medina, is going to be like, okay, here comes the little wedge left, or okay, here comes the long barreling right. And they can see it. And
it's a forced fit, in my opinion. But I'll tell you that that exact thing that we're talking about is the biggest thing that I, as a surfer in the wave pool, had to overcome. And I'll give this as advice to anybody who goes and spends money at a wave pool in the future, to try to kind of incorporate this before you get into the wave pool so that you don't waste waves. And that is intuition. When you're in the ocean, you're relying on intuition and all the learning that you've had in the ocean. So you're sitting there waiting for a wave. And when the wave comes, you're immediately assessing what the wave is, what it's going to do, what it's potentially going to do. Then you get to your feet and you're just like waiting, and then you're making decisions in real split second because you have no idea in advance what's going to happen. Strangely, you erase all of that when you go into the wave pool, and they tell you, they go, sit right here, line up between the 2 S's. And then there's umbrellas, use that as a lineup. And when the wave comes, it's going to do exactly this thing. And so you get up to your feet, like automatically having a plan of what you're going to do. And you're not relying on any of the intuition. But the waves are slightly different than one another. They're not exact replicas. And so the wave will slightly, like, say you go to hit the lip and it's not as powerful as you thought it was going to be based on everything they told you. And you don't make the minute adjustment of pumping back down the face of it or something. You're expecting it to push you back down the face. So you blow that section and you're like, damn it. So you're trying to like impose what you think you know on this wave rather than rely on all that instinct that you had built up. And so I found myself over the course of years of going to these wave pools, taking that long to actually get back to my most basic instincts. And then I got to the point, thankfully, on this last trip where I was able just to rely on my basic instincts. And I was telling other people, I'm like, treat it like it's a grovel session out at your local. Look, it's 3 feet. It's not that powerful. And just kind of go ham on it, like go surf it like you would a regular gravel session, kind of look for sections, kind of be on, use your fast twitch muscle fibers and intuition to find the sections and find the speed in the wave. And once you do that, relinquish what you thought everybody was telling you, then you can kind of tap in and have a blast.
Yeah, that's the key right there, right? And I think we found that at least I did at Kelly Slater's wave pool when we surfed it a long time ago, was the less thinking, the better. If you're trying to plan out your wave, even if you're in the ocean, that's a bad equation. Like that's a bad recipe. Don't think.
But you do, because they're ladling on all this
Right.
information and advice and like, okay, you think it's going to go slow, but it's really going to go fast. So make sure you do. And so you're just listening to and doing what they told you to do rather than rely on your instinct. But your instinct is more sophisticated,
Yeah. My advice is put a really good Rolling Stone song in your head and you'll be fine. Go
Which
dancing.
song?
Go dancing.
Which song?
Can't you hear me knocking?
I will do. I've got a Who Said That for you.
I do too.
You want to go first?
All right. This is the moment of the show, you guys, where I throw out a quote from a famous surfer to David, and he tries to figure out who said that. And here we go. And I quote, one of the most important lessons I'd learned from Bob McTavish and George Greeno was that you had to get a rail down in the water to control a turn. So the first modification I made to the board was to drop the overall thickness by at least 1/2 inch, making a huge difference, both in the flotation for paddling and the amount of rail you could bury in a turn. The new board was 2.5 inches thick, at least an inch thinner than a board made for someone of my height and weight. There is one little thing that I always say, and there is so much truth in it that people really don't listen. If you want a paddleboard and you want to get out the back, then go out and buy a paddleboard. But surfboards are made to ride waves and have nothing to do with paddling. So you get something with minimum flotation and it will put you further and further back into the hook. Who said that, David? Was it A, Nat Young, B, Dick Von Strahlen, C, Skip Fry, or D, Peter Druin?
First of all, it could be anybody, and or it could be a lot of people. And what I was thinking before you delivered the multiple choice was Nat Young.
Okay.
But,
is that what you're going with, Nat Young?
I mean, Nat wasn't shaping boards. And it sounds like that's in the voice of a shaper. So Dick Von Strahlen.
Wrong. Your first choice was correct.
Damn it.
Nat Young shaped Magic Sam, the board he's talking about, in 1966 and rode it for about 9 months, during which time he won the state national titles, bells, and the world championships in San Diego. Magic Sam was still on the longboard side of the shortboard revolution, but it was small and thinner than what was being used at the time, which allowed Nat Young to turn harder and find more acute angles on the wave, which in turn led directly to the Deep V plastic machine shortboard launching surfboards that Nat Young's friend Bob McTavish began making in early 67. Now, David, what happened to Magic Sam, one of the world's most sought after and collectible surfboards, probably worth at right now north of $30,000 in the vintage collectible surfboard market? What happened to that board, the board that won the world titles?
Blew off of the top of a car.
Well, in 2020, Roy Crump wrote this about the board. I received an inquiry from Nat Young every couple of years about the whereabouts of Magic Sam. Shortly after his total domination of the 1966 World Championship contest, he gave Magic Sam to me to ship to Honolulu. I worked at Harbor Surfboards in Seal Beach, and we shipped a lot of boards around the world. In awe of Nat's win, we decided to memorialize the victory by removing all the wax. Then we used fine grit sandpaper and gently dulled the surface. We then used an indelible Sharpie pen and wrote, "Aussies rule. Get out of my way. I'm the world champion. I am Nat Young and I am the world champion." We wrote this in Sharpie. Some of the artisans may have used vulgar language. But what happened to Sam? Well, we shipped the board as instructed by Nat to freight pickup care of Nat Young, Honolulu International Airport, Honolulu, Hawaii. I believe Nat was so busy in Hawaii that he never thought about Magic Sam until it was too late. And some surfer working in freight at the airport snagged a free board. Where that board is, nobody knows.
Here's the ultimate expedition for people to go out and find.
Find Magic Sam. It's been looked for years. Believe me, it's gone.
Hashtag find Magic Sam.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wow. Great history lesson and storytelling there.
Yeah, I got all of that from Matt Warshaw's Encyclopedia of Surfing, and a great resource for me as I produce the California Gold Vintage Surf Auction coming up October 5th through the 19th. Final day of bidding, October 19th, for the upcoming California Gold Surf Auction.
Well, my question is, where'd the name come from?
Well, he called it Sam, and that's a good question. I should know the answer to that. I'm sure we could find it on his
I understand
website.
where the magic element comes from.
Yeah, the magic wasn't the initial part of it. It was called Sam, and then they turned it into Magic Sam. So that's
magic as a result of the winds. remember last week you told me Matt Warshaw sent you something in the mail?
Yes.
And I was like, you're like, did he send you something? And I'm like, no, he did, but it didn't arrive in time for last week's show. But here it is now. Oh, look at this.
What'd you get?
Lisa Anderson
Trading
Sports
card?
Illustrated trading card.
Wow, that's pretty friggin' cool.
How funny is that?
What's that worth?
I have no idea. You tell me. You want us to take it to the California Gold Surf Auction? Well, thank
Maybe.
you, Matt Warshaw. It's a nice little gift.
Did you say Sports Illustrated trading card?
Sports Illustrated Kids. Funny thing is, the funny thing says surfer, Florianopolis, Brazil.
Okay,
Lisa
it's worth
Anderson.
$10. I just Googled it on eBay.
No
It's
way.
worth $10. Yeah.
I don't know why it says Florianopolis, Brazil. On the back, it says that she was born in New York, New York. Also a detail I didn't know.
Yeah, I don't know why it says Florina. You can also, well, actually it's $4 pre-owned, but if you get it, you can buy it right now for $10.
This is a mint condition one, okay? So
Oh, okay.
she's riding a Xanadu in this photo. It's at the OP Pro at Huntington Beach.
Yeah.
And the photo is taken by Mike Balzer.
It's a cool, she's ripping. I mean,
Yeah.
got a fin out the top there, and
Yeah.
the board looks solid. It almost looks stringerless.
And Matt sent me a bunch of these postcards as well. So maybe I can be sending postcards around to some of our
I've got
listeners now.
those too. Those are super cool. I love
Yeah.
those postcards.
Little bits of history. So thank you, Matt Warshaw. What a nice little gift. I'll put
Yeah,
this on my
sure.
memorial wall back here, or my not memorial, but memorabilia wall. Okay, I've got a who said that for you, and it's a little bit of a curveball because it's not necessarily a professional surfer as the answer. When discussing one of his favorite films, Big Wednesday, this celebrity stated, quote, "I don't like surfers. I didn't like them when I was growing up. I lived in a surfing community and I thought they were all jerks. I like this movie, Big Wednesday, so much. Surfers don't deserve this movie," end quote. Was it A, Sean Penn, B, Matthew McConaughey, C, Quentin Tarantino, or D, Gary Busey?
Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino. You are correct. C. This is a kind of famous quote that Quentin Tarantino has about the movie Big Wednesday, which he loves. But Surfy posted this on Instagram a couple of weeks ago, and I thought that it was worth revitalizing.
Yeah, that's a good one. And part of me, it's like, part of me is like, cool, Quentin Tarantino gets it. Surfers are the worst. And part of me is like, fuck Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah,
I'm not
both.
sure which side of me is.
Both.
Yeah.
And Quentin seems like total douche as well. Like I love Quentin Tarantino, but he's clearly opinionated, clearly doesn't care, and that has all the elements of a jerk, like not being able to
Don't you
not
think
being able to
he
be
got like
sympathetic to.
terrorized by, because he probably grew up in Santa Monica or something, and he probably got terrorized by surfers, and he probably looked at surfers and like, those guys are so cool, they're douchey. And I think he's right. Like surfers are kind of douchey. Like, it's
Yeah,
just like,
he
we're
grew up.
not that great. We're just, we're not
Yeah,
solving polio.
he grew up in the South Bay, and he was a movie nerd. So yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense. He was from a totally different clique than the
Yeah.
surfers in the South Bay at that time. But
Why does he love Big Wednesday? Like, I think he loves Milius.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great film. I think he's
Yeah.
just into film, and it is a great film, and it happens to be about a subculture that he had a connection to that he didn't like, but the film stands alone.
Yeah.
So, anyways, a couple of additional things in our notes. What do you got?
Oh yeah, dude. Well, I think I guess the lead that we always bury is that Julian Wilson is on this sort of comeback tour. He said, and I quote, "I'm excited to surf anything. It's not even about marquee waves or something like that. In my mind, it's just trying to beat these guys in any environment. Free surfing is fun, but it's just not as satisfying as doing it under pressure in a jersey." Julian Wilson is coming back, David. What are your thoughts on this? I have some thoughts on this, but I'd like to hear yours.
So more specific than just his what you're talking about, a competitive desire revitalizing, he fully stated, he said, I am looking for a wild card into the CS events, the Challenger Series events, and I want to make a run and get back on tour. And, he's like basically alluded to the fact that 3 years ago when he was in the Olympics, I think after he had lost the Olympics and he's in quarantine waiting to go home, he had a real hard look at himself and thought, I'm tired of traveling around the world nonstop and being away from my family. I want to spend more time with my family. And he said, I am glad that I did that. I don't regret that for a minute. However, I've still got it in me. So my thoughts on that statement are epic, excellent. I am so excited. I love Julian Wilson. 2 months ago, he dropped a new edit called Surf Rehab, which we discussed here, which was a trip for his clothing brand to Indo. And I stated at that time, his surfing in that would win him heats and even events nowadays. It is as good as any surfer on tour. Of course, they're not going to get that quality of waves on tour, but his surfing is every bit there. And I would argue Julian Wilson's passion and drive has always been there. Even though he only won 5 events when he was on tour and all the years that he was on tour and he did not win a world title, he had a drive from the time he was a Grom that is required to get to that kind of to get a world title, And so there was a bunch of different things and reasons why he didn't, but I think that even at age 34, he still has, like, that's the thing with surfing, is that you get better at it in certain ways. You get more dignified and more refined in your surfing. And so I think he's at a point now where he has a little bit more refinedness and sophistication to his surfing, and he has just enough athleticism to be able to go toe to toe with Griffin Colapinto, let's say, anywhere in the world. And so I think I would love, and I love his style of surfing so much. So I would love to see him give it another crack.
Okay. I guess my first question to you is, shouldn't he have to requalify through regional events just like everyone else? Does he deserve a wild card straight into the Challenger Series, which is just the step below? That's the qualifier series to the CT. What about the young kids that have to grind through the regional events?
So that's a fair argument for almost anybody, but he's an outlier that does deserve a wild card.
Why?
He's proven himself.
I'm not doubting that, but he's not a world champion.
It doesn't matter. To me, we always talk about there can't be these objective rules. In surfing, you have to have room to make just smart decisions I think this is a smart decision for the business. He's going to attract, everybody wants to watch him surf. So he's going to attract eyeballs and attention. So that's great. But B, you'd have to be an idiot to say that his surfing isn't qualified to surf at the highest level of competition. So it would actually be a waste of his time and everybody else's time to make him go through the grinding process. The whole grinding process is only meant to identify who is qualified to do it at the highest level. He's proven in every possible way that he is qualified to do the highest level.
Hey, little buddy, my dog's.
Thought you were talking to a ghost. I saw the door open behind you, like by itself.
Hold on. I'm okay with him getting a wild card into the CS,
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned this, which I found interesting. If he does the Challenger Series next year, they said that he would be 36, even 37 years old when he's back on tour, which is the same age, somebody mentioned on Stab, as Mick Fanning and Joel Parkinson when they retired. 36, 37 by the time the season ends, if in fact he makes the cut. You mentioned at the beginning of your little soliloquy about Julian Wilson that he's surfing better than ever in perfect waves in Indo. I agree with you. In fact, I mean, you could kind of argue that Mick Fanning's surfing as good as he's ever surfed. For sure, you and I have mentioned I think Kelly Slater's surfing as great as he's ever surfed. But there's a difference between these guys, watching these guys surf perfect 6 to 8 foot Kira and watching them surf 3 to 4 foot Florianopolis with a 10 knot onshore wind.
That's the problem here.
And that is the problem. Like the difference between Julian Wilson in perfect Indo and placing him against 𝐒𝐿𝐿 or Gabe even, and in a competitive format, I don't know if he's got it.
Forget about 𝐒𝐿𝐿 and Gabe, world champs. Just put him against other CS surfers. You know, put him against Al Cleveland Jr. at Huntington Beach, Mateus Hurdy in Huntington Beach. You know, any of those. There's an endless slew. There's dozens and dozens of people at that CS level that in those knee-high waves might want it more than Julian. So really what we're looking at is, I didn't see Julian say next year. I saw him say I'm vying for wild cards into the CS. Well, there's two events still this year. Can he get into
one's in
Ericeira and Saquarema?
Yeah.
So can he get into Ericeira and Saquarema? And if he can he win those two events? And I mean, he could, but he's no better a shot at winning those two events than 24 other guys. Like, his advantage is world-class surf. So he's going to have to slog through mediocre surf in order to do it. And that becomes a lot more questionable. But if he can, and he does end up on tour at age 36, as you're positing, I think that he's in a little bit better position than Joel and Mick were when they retired, simply because part of the reason those guys retired is that longing in the back of their head of wanting to go spend time with family and wondering what it would be like to have a normal life, not traveling the world. Julian's done that for 3 years now. He's checked that box. So I think he's coming in with a little bit more gas in the tank.
It's interesting. So I've got the top 10 qualifiers right now for the CS. Let's say we were going into the next season as is. I look at these guys and I'm like, there's only one or two guys I'd rather have on tour than Julian Wilson at this point. Like, I'm okay with him taking 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝐬's place on tour.
And Ian's already been on tour as well. So we've already seen that.
Samuel Pupo, who would you rather have?
You know, I love Samuel Pupo, but I
think Samuel Pupo would be better on tour than Julian Wilson. I think it'd be better for the health of competitive surfing would be better with Samuel Pupo on tour than Julian Wilson.
Totally fair argument.
Maybe not interest, maybe not the public's interest.
Totally fair argument. I can't argue against it, but my nostalgia makes me root for Julian in that scenario.
Yeah, and that's sort of the thing here is like there's this public interest storyline that drives this that makes me go, I'd rather see Julian, even though Samuel Pupo is probably better for the health of competitive surfing.
Well, I guess I would love to see them surf against one another. Let's do a surf off.
What about, I mean, there's some names I don't even think are worthy of mentioning, but
brutal takedown, dude.
Well, like 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝐬
Muniz. He's been on tour. That's the thing. So that's a good comparison because those guys came up on tour at the same time, but 𝐒𝐿𝐬 had a much earlier exit and a much smaller profile than Julian. But that's a similar storyline. He did exactly what Julian is trying to do.
Well, I look at it like Julian's got 5 CT wins. Like, he kind of just is better than these guys.
There's no question he's better than all those guys.
Well, okay, here's the big one for me. What if Julian comes on the last 2 CSs and because of his performance, he knocks out Alan Cleland?
Then he earned it.
Who's in 9th place?
Then he earned it. I mean, honestly.
No, he didn't. He didn't earn it. He was given a wild card. That's my problem. Like, are we going to let a 34-year-old CT retired surfer come in and take out one of the, like, I know what you're saying. Maybe Alan didn't do what he needed to do in Portugal and in Brazil to up his game. I think that's a valid argument.
The point is he did earn it in my definition, because if he goes and surfs in those 2 events and does in 2 events what Al Cleland couldn't do in 6 events, we need Julian. Like, that's what we want. This guy's a phenom. You know what I mean?
There are guys, on the CS right now that I'd like to see on the CT, regardless of whether they earn it or not. For instance, Levi Slauson in my opinion, should be on the CT.
Yeah, but that's hometown pride is what that is. It's because he's a local
but
boy.
he's worthy. I mean, these guys are all worthy. Here's one that's funny though. 𝐂𝐤𝐫𝐬, our guy,
I
or
know.
no?
I mean, I'm down to watch him again, but I don't think he deserves a spot over Sammy Pupo.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'm interested. Let's also take note. Mark Occhilupo retired in, I don't know when, what year, but surfed through the 80s, retired at some point, late 80s, early 90s, came back on tour, I feel like 1996, and won a title in 1999.
okay.
He was a little bit younger than Julian is.
Full on asterisk. I'm just going to throw this out there. Like I saw this too on Stab, and they're like, Marco Occhilupo did it, and everyone loves Aki, and I'm not here to poo-poo Aki's world title, but let's be clear, both Aki and Sonny Garcia won world titles late in their careers. Why, David?
Because they were shredding.
No, you know the answer. Go ahead,
No.
say it.
No,
Say it.
you say it.
You say it.
What, you think they got pushed through?
No, Kelly Slater wasn't on tour.
Oh,
Those were the years Kelly Slater's like, I've won 10 in a row or whatever. I'm taking a break. And that's when Aki and Sonny took advantage of Kelly not being on tour and won their world titles. 99 and 2000.
well, either way, guess what? Felipe Toledo took a year off too. So it happens. You know what I mean?
Toledo is not Kelly Slater.
I'm just saying those guys, they wouldn't have won the title unless they, came back at that era in their career and put in the hard work. They got the gift that Slater took off, but we don't know what gift Julian might be given down the road. He needs to put himself in the position to even have a shot.
I agree. I just think when they throw out that, hey, Aki did it, so Julian can do it. I don't know.
Maybe there
needs to be a little asterisk. Oh, by the way, Kelly wasn't on tour.
Yeah, well, Kelly just got off tour again, so maybe Julian was aiming exactly to do the same thing.
Well,
he's like, hey,
good for him.
Hey, 15 years later, Kelly's pulling the same card.
He's like,
sweet, I'm in.
He's like, how did Aki do it? Let's see. Oh, Kelly left. Okay, I'll do it when Kelly leaves.
Put me in, coach. Get me off the bench.
Well, we'll see how it goes, but
I'm excited for it.
Is his best competitive surfing behind him?
That is the exact reason why I'm for this, is I would love to find out the answer to that question. Because I would say yes, it is, until I saw that surf rehab at it. And then I love the idea of he retired really because he had a family at home. And so there was a pull to do something else. It wasn't like his surfing wasn't still at a top level. It wasn't, it was just the competitive drive that is required to win events was being a little bit tamped down by the wife and kid at home. So he went and did that. And now he realized
he was burnt out. Like the judges kind of burnt him out. And so I'm going, okay, you come back and guess what? You got a shitty, like same old song and dance that you're disgusted by the judges. You feel like you've been burned and you immediately go back into that mindset.
But you're imposing a lot of that. He never said, I'm disgusted by the judges.
Yeah, maybe I am, but is that a narrative that's lacking? Like, is that a narrative that's just me making that up? I think that's something that occurred.
I think that occurs with anybody who's been on tour for 10 years.
Right. I agree.
But I've never heard Julian express that discontent. And so I think it's not fair to say that he's coming back into tour with that discontent, because I don't think that was ever really a motivating. That might have been a quiet frustration, but I don't think that's driving enough of his storyline to prevent him from winning heats moving forward.
Well, speaking of winning heats moving forward, Kelly Slater said on the Barton Lynch podcast that this will be the last time he surfs competitively at Cloudbreak. This is like a swan song for Kelly. He's saying, you don't buy that? You're like, yeah, right. I heard that before, pal.
I've heard that.
You're going to get a wild card.
I've heard it 3 dozen times. I mean, what do you mean? I don't even know why he's saying
sense that I don't either. But he said that he's like, this is going to be the last time I surf competitively at Cloudbreak. Well, he did throw it because it's probably going to be the last.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, maybe not.
So I'll take it. I'll believe it when I see him sitting on the sofa drinking a beer.
Well, the CT event I think is going to go today, which is Thursday in Fiji. It's going to be 6 to 8 feet. The winds are nice. It's going to be a little fade and swell tomorrow, but again, the winds on 3 to 5 feet tomorrow. So today and tomorrow, which would be Thursday and Friday in Fiji. Today is Wednesday in California. Wednesday and Thursday in California. They could run this event. Then things go really bad from a wind perspective and from a swell perspective. It's just not a good forecast. Of course, Murphy's Law, things get really good again as soon as the waiting period ends.
Yeah. Rocketmoney.com/surf. Just this week, my wife figured out she was paying a subscription for Showtime, but then also paying for Paramount Plus, which includes Showtime for free. That's precisely what Rocket Money was designed for. A modern tool that meticulously tracks the details that we easily get distracted from. It's a finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your monthly spending, and helps you lower your bills. It gives you freedom by helping you see your subscriptions in a simple dashboard and alerts you about hidden fees or increases. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Stop wasting money on things that you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/surf. Calm the clutter in your head, simplify the tedium of your financial life, and find freedom through rocketmoney.com/surf. Let me give people a quick history lesson on Fiji real quick.
Yeah.
Tropical, as we go into the event at Cloudbreak, quote, tropical South Pacific island nation made up of roughly 330 wave-fringed volcanic islands, 100 of which are inhabited, and 500 atolls covering 120,000 square miles. Fiji is home to restaurants and Cloudbreak, both premier left-breaking reef waves located off of the singular Tavarua Island. Although Fiji was visited by surfers as far back as the early 60s, it didn't become popular until 1984, not long after the opening of the Tavarua Island Resort, the first all-amenities surf camp, which Cloudbreak and restaurants immediately touted in surf magazines as two of the best breaks in the world. Additional resorts opened on Vita Levu and Namotu in 1992. Cloudbreak, a shortening of Thundercloud Reef, is a powerful open ocean wave located just a mile south of Tavarua. Waves here often subdivide into three main sections: the point, the middle, and shish kebabs, which occasionally links up to offer a screaming 200-yard long ride with a number of tube sections. Like many tropical reef pass breaks, Cloudbreak tends to get faster, shallower, and more critical as it goes. Waves are regularly ridden in the 4 to 6 foot range, but they have been ridden up to 25 feet. American yachtsman John Ritter noted the likely looking waves at Tavarua in 1978 and passed the information on to his friends in Australia and America, who actually rode the wave first remains unclear. But in 1982, Californian Dave Clark, who had been teaching in nearby American Samoa, spent 2 months with his cousin camping and surfing on Tavarua. They met with 3 local Fijian tribes and secured what they hoped would be exclusive surfing rights to the area's surf breaks. Clark and California surfer Scott Funk quickly built an early version of a Tavarua Island Resort, which offered limited occupancy, 24 surfers maximum, private cabin accommodations, and number of amenities at $100 a day. The Tavarua Surf and Tavarua Surf Resort both came to attention in the surfing world in 1984 Surfer magazine cover story, which featured longtime Californian wave hunters Kevin Naughton and Craig Peterson. The island quickly became a favorite destination for high-end surf vacationers and was soon booked solid months in advance. The resort's exclusive rights to Cloudbreak were tested through the 90s. However, surfers staying on nearby islands sometimes boated over to ride the perfect surf. Clark had procured fishing rights to Cloudbreak's reef, and the legal and ethical grounds of Tavarua Resort's exclusivity was challenged by some of the Fijian officials and surfers. Finally, in 2010, the Fijian government lifted all restrictions on surfing in Tavarua, opening the island's breaks to all comers, whether paying guest resorts or not. Since the 80s, Tavarua has hosted a number of surfing contests. The first World Tour event was held at Cloudbreak in 1999. Winners include Mark Occhilupo, Luke Egan, Kelly Slater. In 2012, the Volcom Fiji Pro was interrupted by a massive swell that drew the world's top big wave riders. The event was suspended, a controversial decision, as it seemed like the World Tour pros were herring out, and the big wave specialists gorged themselves on what many were calling the finest oversized waves ever ridden.
Yeah, that was a great little history lesson there.
Thank you.
I'll say a couple quick things about that. I think there's an incredible documentary to be made about the truth behind Tavarua Island, the political and, well, just the story behind the legal battle for Tavarua with Dave Clark and I think some Australians. And I've told you before, and I'll quickly state this, that I was on a Menawai boat trip one time with Kevin Naughton, and he swore me to secrecy, which I will keep, but he told me the true story of Tavarua Island. And frankly, I kind of forgot it, but for like 2 weeks on this boat trip after surfing, he would go, okay. And he would pick up the story and tell me the story, like the drama that unfolded. And it's really a fascinating story. I think it speaks to sort of the nature of Dave Clark's character. He was just a guy that was not going to be denied, you know, and Dave and Kevin are really good friends. And it was a pretty fascinating story, but there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of great conflict. There's a lot there that would make for a great documentary. I again, like many great stories in surfing, for whatever reason, it's probably not going to get told, you know, and maybe it shouldn't get told. And I'm not going to be the guy that tells it because it's not my place. I told Kevin I wouldn't say anything he told me. And again, I kind of forget some of the nuance.
Yeah.
I do know that Dave Clark and Scott Funk are not good buddies, or at least not
anymore.
Yeah, I think there was some drama there.
But let me ask you this.
There's finances, there's politics, there's physical violence, perhaps. There's all sorts of weird stuff.
I'm just curious, at this point now, 20 and 30 years on, is there a reason why Kevin Naughton would want to keep it a secret? Or
because his dear friend Dave Clark doesn't, you know, like there's some stuff that just probably shouldn't get out, you know? Okay. The only way it'll get told is if Dave tells it. Is my feeling.
I'm just wondering if there's any legal liability that they're trying to protect, or
I don't know,
risk of getting sued or something like that, or if it's just, okay.
I don't know.
Fair enough. Good enough. Yeah. Well, good. I'm looking forward to that event. Obviously, there's consequences for the top surfers in the world to qualify for the final event of the season at lowers. I can give you a quick rundown really quickly. Ethan Ewing, I mean, it's basically John's a lock. Griffin is, you know, needs at least a quarterfinal finish to stay safe. Jack Robinson, same thing. Italo needs to outperform Jack Robinson to stay safe. Ethan Ewing needs a semifinal finish to have a strong chance. Iago Dora needs a semifinal or better to bump up. Jordy needs a big result, likely a final. Gabriel Medina must make the final, but also hopes that other people falter so that he can leapfrog them. Crosby Colapinto has to win this event. And Rio Waida can actually mathematically make it, but he needs to win, and then others need to falter heavily for him to get their spots. So that's the quick rundown.
Cool. And before we check out here, I do want to read a listener email that we got, if you don't mind.
Please.
It says, "G'day, Scott, mate. I've been recently listening to your podcast, and I can't get enough. Really appreciate the history of surf culture and board development and redevelopment over time. Many local Aussie legends that have had a huge impact on surfing, and some that still survive to this day. One guy who is no longer with us, passed a couple of years ago, but till the day he died was hand-shaping masterpieces and changed the direction of surfing, was Tom Hoy, an expat from Santa Cruz. He came to Australia in the 70s, armed with a twin fin, which Terry Fitzgerald then developed in mass production. Tom didn't like the drive of the twin fin, so he added a nubby trailing fin prior to Simon Anderson's thruster, which came to fruition. The only thing with Tom's setup was that the third fin wasn't the same size as the leading twin fins. Anyway, Tom moved to the Margaret River region in the late 70s and spent till 2021 shaping all sorts of craft, from guns and sailboards and performance boards. He was an innovative shaper. In the 80s, he developed a glassed 5-fin setup labeled 𝐿𝐴, smaller fins with less drag points than a thruster setup, and quietly discouraged the design due to the complexities of manufacturing it. Regardless of this, the design works in everything from 30-foot monsters to 3-foot punchy waves. He calls his bottom design 5-step vortex, where he incorporates chimes and concaves and V's and rocker to produce high-performing boards with radical thick rails. That all of this stuff seeming to be working. He was in Trax magazine. There's an issue with him. It would be great if, in conversation with some of your contacts, if any or more information could be sought out about Tom Hoy and his influence in board designs. Thanks again for the episodes. From a Tom Hoy loyalist and board rider, Shane Reed. So Shane, thanks for the email. I don't know much about Tom
Epic.
Hoy. I have heard the name.
But is he related to Matt Hoy?
No. Now, this
Okay.
guy's an American expat. Tom Hoy.
Well, I don't know if Matt Hoy's dad could have been an expat.
He spells it different.
Oh, I
Hoy
see.
is H-O-Y-E. Tom Hoy, H-O-Y-E. Matt Hoy,
Got it.
H-O-Y.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome. Great to hear that. And a final note, Surfrider's 40th birthday is tomorrow.
Right.
Literally tomorrow, August 22nd. Go. They're not only respected, obviously, for their ocean conservancy, but super effective in their work as well. So grassroots advocacy for over 40 years. Go to surfrider.org/40. Get in on a little giveaway that they're doing for their birthday, but also just become a member, support them. Their goal is to get to 1 million supporters for their 40th birthday. So go support and become. The ocean needs more friends, is what they say. And I think it's absolutely true. For the good of humanity, the ocean needs to be healthy. So go to surfrider.org. And then my final must-see moment, presented by Trees Wax, the only petroleum-free surf wax, is the Padang Single Fin Classic. Get out there and look at the clips on this event. It hasn't ended yet, but they have a couple lay days, I guess, waiting for the new swell. But Joel Parkinson's clip from 2 days ago is unbelievable. Mason Ho's clip is unbelievable. Totally mesmerizing. Proves that the waves are the stars, because you watch this thing grind and you're just like dreaming. That is what you've dreamt of your whole life. And to see Joel Parko come out of retirement and do exactly what we know and love is just blissful.
Fair enough. Good stuff. One last thought. The Boardroom International Surfboard Show, presented by US Blanks, is coming up October 12th and 13th at the Del Mar Fairgrounds, and you can get tickets now.
Sweet. I will
All right,
see
David,
you there.
look. Yeah, until next time, adios and aloha.
All right, Mr. Bass, driftline.co, promo code SPIT to save 15% off your drifties and go chafe free this summer.
Look, I was in Montana last week with my drifties in the river, cruising the river, throwing fly lines, and I'll be in the surf, and have been in the surf in the warm waters of the Pacific Ocean wearing my drift lines. You get a 0.5 millimeter wetsuit lined board short, keeps you warm, keeps you chafe free. The drift lines, an incredible board short, and the only board short I wear.
Totally. And the board shorts, technical, stylish, looks great, comes in a variety of colors, works phenomenally. So go check it out and save 15% at driftline.co, promo code SPIT. All right. Thank you very much.